Hi, a few people asked for some more information about my pick and place machine. This is a Versatronics RV4s. It originally came out in about 1998, cost about £20,000 then. There's also another version called the RV1s. The only difference is that the RV4s has got a flying vision camera, which increases the placement speed by up to about 50% because it's not having to go to this fixed camera every time it's making placements. It's probably one of the smallest pick and place machines around even today, because it uses this, instead of the more traditional XY gantry, it uses this double elbowed arm arrangement. There's two massive stepper motors in the back here, which use two tooth belts to drive a dual coaxial shaft here to provide the two rotation axes. The machine's typically about 15 years old, and you can find these second hand for anything between about £2,000 to £5,000, including feeders. And yeah, they are a pretty viable, usable machine, certainly down to 0603s, 0402s if it's set up absolutely spot on, but 0603s it will handle quite comfortably. Inside here there's a small but very noisy vacuum pump that provides the suction for the component pickup. Another nice thing about this machine is it doesn't need an air supply, so that's one less thing if you're looking for a really small compact setup. There's these covers here. The covers are mainly to control the light level for the cameras, and also as a safety barrier, because when this thing's moving it can give you quite a nasty whack, and also because of the geometry, certain positions it actually has to move out and then back in again because of the elbow geometry. The feeders, they're multi-lane feeder. Each feeder is this wide. There's up to 8 feeders, 4 on each side. This is a 10-lane 8mm tape feeder, and there's a few other widths available. These fit on the base plate. They just basically sit on, and there's a cam lock. This is just a simple cam locking screw that locks in the position, so you can take a feeder out if you want to go, and it can be a bit fiddly to load all the feeders in position, so you can just take a whole feeder out, load all the components out, and swap feeders in and out fairly easily depending on how it's mounted. This has also got a vibration feeder. This is a feeder for feeding parts in tubes. They did actually design some lanes in here for the parts to line up, but this doesn't really work very well in practice. What you tend to have to do is just cut the tops off of tubes and put an end stop. I've actually glued some chips in here to act as an end stop. So these tubes sit in here, and you just adjust the position to get the exactly one component in the open area for it to pick from. But once you've got it set up, that works quite reasonably. As well as the 8 feeder positions, you can also put passive feeders anywhere in the unused placement bed. So for example, waffle trays. This is a tape holder I made up for some wide tape for some large SO chips, and also just make up basically anything that will hold the components in a nice fixed location. You can set this up as a feeder, tell it the pitch, and it will pick from it, and it will automatically advance and deal with it. So anything that's in weird packaging. I mean, if you're on a super low budget and find one of these without any feeders at all, you can actually use it without any feeders, just using making up passive feeders and just telling it the position on the bed, and it'll pick from that quite happily. This overall frame is really basically just a mounting trolley. It's sort of frame that you've got these decks here for the feeders to sit on. The only other parts are underneath here. We've got the control PC. This is a Windows 98 PC. In here there's a vision card and a custom card which has got 4 stepper motor DSPs to control the stepper motors, and the only other custom hardware is this box here. This contains power supplies and 4 stepper motor drivers. Normally there's a metal cover on this, but I've just taken the cover off to allow space for storage, so I've got my stencil printer here, and obviously it's got this monitor stand, which of course was designed for CRT monitors, and again that lifts off, so I normally store that inside when I'm not using it. So the whole thing it's probably the most compact pick and place machine around even today. This is what's inside the control box. As you can see, there's really not much in here. 2 big toroidal transformers, 4 stepper drivers. These are made by Sanyo Denki. I assume these are just off-the-shelf standard stepper drivers, and there's some rectifiers and voltage regulation there. Really very little. Though I have seen another version of this in a smaller enclosure using a switch mode power supply, which I assume is a later version, and otherwise it's just interconnect. There's two serial ports that come from the PC. One of them goes out to the feeders to send all the feeder commands, and the other one is used for various functions in the main unit for things like end limit switch sensing on the axes. These are the two machine specific cards in the PC. This is a PCI image capture card made by Image Nation. I think it's a fairly standard composite video capture card of its time. The system only works with this specific card. The cameras connect to this multi-pin connector. I think camera power may also come from there, I can't remember. And this is the custom DSP card. This is an ISA card, so it does need a PC with an ISA slot to run. This has got 4 identical DSP cards, one for each axis. There's also a dual COM port under there as well. I have seen a version that uses the PC's native COM ports, but I think this is a later version that's got onboard COM ports, so everything comes out of this connector and the PC's COM ports aren't used. Here's the detail of the placement head. We've got rotation here, there's a stepper motor up here that controls the rotation, and there's the up-down motion via a rack and pinion drive. There's a stepper motor in here, just see the pinion there, it moves the head up and down. This is the RV4, which has got a flying camera. When the head is in its uppermost position, this mirror flips down, it locks itself on this magnet. We've got a little illuminator there, and then that reflects an image of the nozzle and the component onto the camera down here, which gets an image of the component. Also on the side of the head is the fiducial camera. That's a downward looking camera for measuring the board alignment and so on. Right, the boards are held down to the bed using these guides. They should have these little twist latches on them, but they were missing from the back guide on this machine. So I've just improvised something with a few various screws, washers and springs just to make a sort of clip down thing. There's also these guides to prevent the board sagging, so you sort of typically put a few of those in under where the board's going to go, stick the PCB in, and then just put the corner guide in on the opposite corner and knock it down. And part of the setup process, it will actually measure the board height from the nozzle. It'll you set up the two fiducial marks which give it its position reference for the PCB, and it'll actually automatically measure the board height. And this area we've got the nozzles. These lock in. There's a flat on the side, so it can drop in, twist it, and then pull the head out. It goes down, twists, and lifts the head up. These fit onto the head. There's some O-rings. There's some O-rings on the head, so it's just a push fit onto the end of the head. And so there's various sizes from the smallest one for 0402s right up to sort of large O-ring head with an O-ring in it for large body packages like QFPs and so on. This area is used for a reject bin. Any part that fails visioning gets dumped in here, and you can program several different bin locations. If you've got valuable components or things that you're already short of, you can make them dump specific components into specific reject bins. And here's the upward facing fixed vision camera. There's a Perspex disc on there that you can just lift off for cleaning. There's a red LED illuminator around here. And it's an upward facing camera. Well, here's one of the feeders off the machine. The connection, there's a daisy chain connector. This carries both mains power and an RS-232 link. Some dip switches. This just basically tells it which physical position the feeder's in for addressing, so it knows which one to operate. On the back you've got 2 level reel holders, so that each alternate reel goes either on the bottom or the top, so that to cope with the width of the reels. Then we've got the take-up spools for taking up the cover tapes. Right, the tape's gripped on the top by these wheels. There's basically a rubber belt that serves 2 functions. It acts like a tyre on the top of the tape, but also drives the pickup wheel for the leader. And there's some release levers. This releases the pressure, so that allows you to move the tape manually when you're loading it up. Then there's this stripper plate that goes over the top. So the tape comes back, and then the leader gets pulled off by this plate, so the components are exposed in this area here. If I've got only got a short leader, I usually use double-sided tape to stick the leader onto the previous leftovers of the previous leader tape, and then this bar goes on here to retain it, and that then just tensions up.